So, I've been talking on this channel lately, which is non-hockey related. Ooh, I got a hockey book today. I've been talking about movies, and I've been talking about The Walking Dead and my distaste for what they did and the way they did it. Um, and I stand by that. And it's been a few days, and I'm still feeling the same way. I don't change my mind on these things. But see, Halloween isn't just about horror movies. Halloween is also about science fiction. Because let's face it, when your kids get dressed up to go out for Halloween, they're going to dress up as usually a Marvel or DC character or science fiction character. Might be a monster, might be an alien, whatever. Now, in terms of science fiction movies, I'm a huge fan of science fiction. I have always been a huge fan of science fiction. Books that I've got on Amazon, including my most recent, I put up there last week. They're all science fiction related, for the most part. Run is a psychological thriller, so it's not even a horror book. But the other five are a series, and it's science fiction. And so I decided, you know what? Let's approach Halloween from the science fiction point of view, because I don't want people to get the impression that I'm just a horror hound and that there's nothing else to it. Science fiction. If you're gonna marathon anything on Halloween, you can marathon science fiction just as easily, and with just as much of a reward at the end of the night in terms of your feelings. See, horror doesn't always inspire ooey gooey feelings at the end of the night towards other people, towards humanity, towards anything. Science fiction usually does. Science fiction usually is about celebrating the idea that man is better than what we perceive at this point in time. And honestly, in my books, I don't see it that way. Like, the humans are the good guys, but it's not Earth. Earth is not the main driver of the goodness. The goodness is driven by everybody else, and Earth's along for the ride. That does change as the series rolls along, but in the beginning, it's pretty bleak future that I paint for Earth. That being said, Halloween. I'll go through the Star Trek ones first. I've got so many Star Trek DVDs. I'm not pulling them all out. Star Trek 1 is a no. Star Trek the Motion Picture. I'm talking about the original Star Trek 1, not the reboot Star Trek 1. That's where it gets confusing. The original Star Trek Motion Picture is a good movie for, I don't know. It's a slow movie. It's a movie that if you're having a party and you want to be able to take your face away from the action for 20 minutes and go back 20 minutes later and go, it's still in the same spot, then Star Trek the Motion Picture is the movie for you. But Wrath of Khan isn't obvious. Wrath of Khan is amazing. Search for Spock is also amazing. And Voyage Home with the Whales is good as well. So those three make a good marathon. 5 makes you want to kill yourself. It is an absolute garbage show of garbage movie. Final Frontier is awful. Part 6 is fantastic. Undiscovered Country reunites the movie with the maker of Wrath of Khan, and you can tell right away. It's a fantastic movie that makes up for Final Frontier. After that, they went into Star Trek Generations, which is terrible. First Contact is okay. If you can ignore the fact that the entire premise of the movie is stupid, then you're okay with First Contact. First Contact is so maddeningly stupid. And the Borg revealed just how collectively stupid they are in that movie. It's mind-numbing. And you don't notice it the first few times you see it because there's some really good action and there's some really good sequences and some good lines. But it's stupid. Insurrection is terrible. Nemesis is terrible. Am I forgetting anything in here? I don't think so. I know Insurrection is terrible. Yeah, it's generally just terrible. And then they did the reboot. The reboot is fantastic. Star Trek Into Darkness does not hold up under repeated viewings. It is an amazing visual feast the first time you see it, especially Alice Eve. It's a good trick there. We're going to put a good-looking blonde with a British accent in it. Forget that Carol Marcus didn't have a British accent in the original movie. The Wrath of Khan, Carol Marcus doesn't have a British accent, and she's raised by RoboCop in the reboots, and yet she's British. So RoboCop has raised a very proper British girl. I don't know how, but he has. So there's that weirdness. And Star Trek Beyond, which comes out next week, is fantastic, amazing. Sadly, doesn't come out till after Halloween. Now, on the horror genre, there is one thing that you can watch that is horror related, and I've talked about this in other videos before. Crystal Lake Memories. I ordered this because it was on sale for I think $24.95 on Amazon. I think that's what I got it for, and it's 5 hours. So if you're bored on a Halloween night and you want to go through the entire story of Jason Voorhees from the original Friday the 13th right up until Freddy vs. Jason, this has all of it in there. Behind the scenes with all of it. And it's fun and it's great. So if you're having a party and you want something to run in the background that's got a little bit of gore in it, but it's not scary because it's not really the movie, this is it. And it's fantastic. I even enjoyed the parts talking about Jason Takes Manhattan, even though Jason Takes Manhattan is a terrible, awful, horrible movie. Now, if you're going to marathon, you marathon. One of these two trilogies is worth marathoning if you like your friends, and it's not this one. See, the original trilogy is fantastic. The prequels are an exercise in CGI overload, and it's awful. But why do I own it, you ask? Because it's Star Wars. And I am part of the problem. I am part of the reason that Lucas kept making money and money and money, and therefore we never got a really good movie because he still made money on the schlock he was producing. Schlock. You tell me, looking at Queen Amidala there, soon to become Padme, and the name Amidala is never mentioned again. You tell me that's not a cheesy outfit. And it's just, and the battle with Darth Maul that everybody loved in Phantom Menace, and Duel of the Fates is fantastic music. Don't get me wrong. And the set that is CGI around them is fantastic. But the movie's terrible, and the fight is so well choreographed that it takes you out of the idea that it's dangerous. All of the fight scenes in the movie pretty tough in terms of finding one that feels real. There's a visceral feel to an actual fight. And the sword fights in the Star Wars prequels just don't have it. They're so well choreographed that it just takes you out of it. You don't feel like there's any real danger. So, that brings me to this. And I had my review with Force Awakens, and I had my issues with people who don't like Force Awakens. I absolutely loved Force Awakens. I think you can take the prequels out and just go Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, Force Awakens, and I don't think anybody outside of certain minority who's very, very vocal. I genuinely don't think anybody else is going to care. They're great movies. There's a cheese aspect, sure, but you know, it is what it is. If you want B movies, I have this. Excellent 80s. This is 50 movies. I also have 50 B movies, like science fiction B movies. I can't say enough good things about them. And B movies work for anything, and Halloween especially. I think B movies are great. This is a good science fiction movie that people have forgotten. My girlfriend Yvonne and I are both big fans of Titan AE. There's a lot of good lines in this. I'm not sure what happened, why this movie flopped and failed, but I really enjoyed it. I greatly enjoyed it. If you're young, and if you're on YouTube, a lot of you are young, you may have missed this. There's lots of people in the generation after mine that I would imagine haven't seen Blade Runner. There's about 25 different cuts of this movie. It doesn't really matter. You watch whatever cut you can and enjoy it. It's ahead of its time. It really, truly is ahead of its time. And movies make that claim all the time. It happens too often that a movie will claim it. But Blade Runner is ahead of its time. And my last recommendation is Iron Sky. I totally bought this at a video store as a previously viewed movie because I was waiting for the price to come down on a brand new copy. Iron Sky is Nazis on the moon. I can't think of a better way to describe it than that. And this is the fun you can have on Halloween. There's also the Tron movies. The original Tron I'm not a fan of. Tron Legacy is fantastic. I know I take flack for that too. But there is something to be said for good science fiction. Good science fiction, like Last Starfighter, I got Yvonne to watch that with me last week. And she said it's a good boy movie, and she's right. It's a boy movie. Neverending Story is fantastic. If you're going to watch Neverending Story for Halloween, you can follow that up with Princess Bride, or follow Princess Bride up with Neverending Story. They match. They fit well in that same fantastic universe. So I wanted to throw a video out there saying, hey, not everything related to Halloween is horror. Gremlins can kind of qualify as a Halloween, although it's a Christmas too. So it kind of has this double. There's always the animated ones like Nightmare Before Christmas, any Tim Burton movie. Watchmen is a good dark fantasy kind of thing. And if you want to see Negan from Walking Dead before he was Negan, and you don't feel like watching Season 1 of Supernatural, first off, that's your mistake, because Season 1 of Supernatural is fantastic. But other than the racist truck, I can't defend the idea that a ghost truck is racist. And the other thing is that in Watchmen, the guy who plays Negan now plays really the biggest jerk of the Watchmen. He really does. He seems to like playing the villain. So anyways, I hope that we see a nice quiet Halloween where I am. Sometimes it gets kind of loud with the fireworks, the firecrackers, and the general prickishness. Since it's on a Monday this year, I don't think it's going to be too bad. But anyways, let me know in the comments Halloween recommendations you have. So again, this is before the weekend arrives and people are going to be having Halloween parties. And I'm just saying, hey, I don't have Halloween parties, but if I did, honestly, I would probably throw in science fiction movies. I probably would not throw in horror movies. Just because if it's a general people thing, I don't want somebody turning around and you know, there's a head getting lopped off on TV. Unless it's a crowd that I know everybody's going to enjoy a head getting lopped off on TV. Other than that, science fiction works just as well. And you can look no further than The Simpsons, where a lot of their Treehouse of Horror bits are actually based on some old science fiction. And any old science fiction will work. I've got a 50 set of movies around here of old science fiction, and almost any of them would work for a Halloween theme. Plan 9 from Outer Space, which may be the worst movie ever made, is also probably the best movie ever made, because it is so alarmingly bad that it's awesome. And almost any Ed Wood movie, you could have, if you could put together an Ed Wood marathon for Halloween, you're set. Honestly, you're a hero in my eyes if you can put together an Ed Wood marathon for Halloween and then follow it up with Tim Burton's Ed Wood movie. You are a legend in my eyes. So anyways, that's my opinion. It is definitely likely to be wrong in many eyes, which is just fine, not a problem with me. But let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because as much as I give love, tremendous love to my hockey channel, and its 1,300 plus subscriber count, the 52 I have on this channel right now get just as much of my attention. Just not as many videos, because movies and TV is kind of a thing that I have to have a topic. And with hockey, every day you're going to have a new topic. Movies and TV, not necessarily, but we're getting there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all again soon.